Of the Peter and Norm show.
Good morning.
Happy Friday, Norm.
Happy Friday.
Oh, we
How
need
are you?
volume in the room. I forgot that part. Here we go. I was saying good morning, everyone. This may be our last Peter and Norm show. We're
For a
expecting
little while.
for a little while the unmatched Carlos should be back on Monday. I hope. Assuming his travel goes well, because who knows, right? I mean, he could be
I don't know when he's
stuck
due
with.
back. I don't know if he's coming back today, tomorrow, Sunday, what. But yeah,
Yeah. Well,
I don't.
there's.
At least the hurricane's already passed, or at least that part. But I guess it'll be inland. It'll be south of New York, so they might have to go around it. I don't know. I have not looked at that, but hopefully he's all right. Guys, first of all, we just had big news drop. PCE inflation data came out a little bit hotter than expected. I kind of anticipated it would. That has dropped the markets, but they're pulling back up now. So they're off the lows pretty substantially. They went red for a bit. We'll dive more into that in a moment. But I will, first of all, apologize for yesterday. It is the first morning in 3.5 years, sans pre-market show. Due to some scheduling issues, Carlos being on vacation, Peter having a doctor's appointment that he could not miss, and then some technical and Thor, who is usually the backup to the backup, hurricane power outages, and then some technological and miscommunication going on. So apologize for that. Sorry we couldn't be here for you yesterday. It was not the demise of the pre-market show. 3.5 year straight run is a pretty good deal. Hopefully we can make it another 3.5 years without an issue like that again. So anyway, thank you. And we were in the room, but we couldn't broadcast to YouTube. So anyway, that is
Yeah.
that. The market now on that data is coming back down toward the lows, gone red again. We'll see how things come out.
Yeah, the market's bouncing around, as you can see here on the 1 minute chart with some of the news that came out. So I don't. Well, I mean, you've already talked about it, Norm, but I'm not sure if you want to jump over more detail to that, because there's more
Yeah, I'm
economic news to come.
Yeah, the PCE is inflation data that is the most looked at by the FOMC for policy rate decisions, what they're going to do. So it coming in a bit hotter than expected is not a good thing. It came in at 0.6, plus zero point 0.6 month over month. That's a tenth hotter than expected. Year over year came in at 6.2, which is down a little bit from last month. Core PCE was actually up month over month and up over expectations, which is also no bueno. So, then we've got tons of Fed speakers, including the Richmond Fed speaker. I even put it on the sheet today? And no, I did not, because I ran out of room. There's so much going on today. There are Fed speakers scattered throughout the day, including the Richmond Fed president, which just began speaking in the last few minutes. 9 a.m. You've got another 11 a.m., 12:30 p.m., and 4:15 p.m. We've got Fed speakers all day long, as I said. We've got Chicago PMI at 9:45, University of Michigan Consumer Sentiment Index, and 5-year expected inflation both at 10 a.m. So data will be trickling out. The big one was the one that just dropped. So we'll see how it goes. Peter. Peter? Bueller?
And I'm on mute, and I'm talking to myself, but I had a lovely conversation. Thank you.
Hopefully it was
So,
invigorating.
oh, it was fantastic. So, despite that, I've been watching the scanners this morning, and we really don't have a lot gapping either up or down. So, after the last couple of days, it's interesting to see the markets calm here, if you will, for a Friday. Maybe we'll start to see more things populate as this news has come out. I'm not sure that it's going to move offerings, but we will find out soon enough.
I would speculate that our list will grow as this PCE data gets filtered through and things pick a direction.
Now,
Mornings like
it,
this with data like that, I was a little bit hesitant to even do much research, as we've discussed when we have these big things change drastically. So
Right. Exactly. Now, we are on a Friday, and we're still, I would consider personally, at the tail end of summer, right? We haven't hit earnings, the sort of the fall earnings season. While everybody's back in school, and if you got kids, you're feeling fall and it's in the weather. From a trading perspective, it's still sort of the tail end of summer type trading, which means we get lower volumes on Friday. Usually things follow the market a little bit more. We'll see. We're getting very close to all that busting out. Usually happens as earnings start to come out in September, based on my experience. And if we look at the symbols that we were looking at yesterday, or I guess it's Wednesday really is when this list was from, you can see like everything's red on my screen with the market following type stocks, and yet we only have a couple of things on the gappers up and down. So like Norm was saying, with things dropping there quickly, I can see, and look how little they're down, right? Apple, AMD, Tesla, all down by like 1/3% or so. So, we're going to see some market following trending. But you know what? That has served us well in the last couple of days, or I guess it depends on your trading style. But for me, served me quite well. While I haven't got some of the fantastic trades like yesterday, right? Yesterday, just to mention quickly, let's take a look at Apple, for example. Apple's one of those ones where I go to a 2-minute chart just so it's easier to see. You look at this trend and you're like, all I had to do was to go short at the open and woohoo, right? I would have a fantastic day. I don't have a strategy for that. And we were talking about this in our trading room yesterday. Trading strategies are very important to us because for me, it allows me to trade all markets and keep me out of trouble. We've had a couple of these days, right, where all you had to do was go short at the beginning of the day and ride it, and you would have had a fantastic day. My challenge is, how do I know when that's going to be the day, right? How do I know it's not a more normal day, I'll say, here in air quotes, where it drops a little bit and then you get the recovery, or it pops up and then you get a drop back down? Because that's what happens more often in the markets. So while I tend to miss these big moves because I don't have a trading strategy for it, my strategies keep me out of trouble because it allows me to trade almost any market. Yesterday, for example, I had very few trades, but I was very happy with my trading because I also didn't have a big red day where I was chasing the reversal, which would have led me to, loss after loss after loss as stocks refused to reverse. So I just want you to keep in mind, as you're trading these markets, don't be disheartened if you're seeing these big moves and you're not part of it. If you don't have a strategy for it, your best approach is to stay out of trouble, right? The job of trading, we say over and over again, is risk management and making sure that you live to trade another day. And while these are exciting to watch, if you can grab them, great. If you can't, don't let it make you take silly trades and crazy moves. As Carlos would always say on a Friday, especially today, you never want to go into a weekend thinking that you just broke your rules and traded immaturely on a Friday. So let's strive to avoid that, and let's look at our gappers list and see what opportunity it might present. So I'm going to get rid of this stuff that we had from Wednesday. Whoops. If I can click the right button. I'm going to add some columns here, and the first thing on our list is Becky, as
oh my God,
as Brian
Becky
likes to call it.
Actually, it's not the first thing on the list.
No?
Your list is... which one of ours is off?
I don't know. Mine says it's connected.
I guess.
And still
okay,
connected.
Go ahead. Go ahead. You've got them. They're just in a different order than mine, which is a little strange, but that's okay.
Okay. Well, we have
yours
Becky.
Appears to be in the correct. Okay, now you got it. Mine was delayed, I guess. It threw a wrench in it because the other day when they were out of whack.
And by the way, we have imminent plans to move to tradingterminal.com because on our custom tool at Trading Terminal, let me click on it right from the chat room here, and let me see what I can do here. I don't really have a screen for this. I'm gonna put your face back up there, Norm. In our tradingterminal.com, we have all of pretty much we're trying to create the ultimate place
You're
for
not
traders
showing
to
Trading
go.
Terminal on the screen, brother.
Oh, I gotta flip over to it. Sorry, wrong screen. 1 second. Oh my goodness, what is happening? Hit the button many times. I'm sure it'll go faster. All right, so if if you look at tradingterminal.com, and let me just resize this. This is what happens when you try and improvise. All right. We have everything that a trader should need, including scanners. If you click on scanners over here, these gappers up and down, you can access anytime on your own. So you can see we've got the same trading lists that we had on my other sheet. In fact, this seems to be updating a little faster than mine is. So this is free for use. We do have a sign-in, but that's just so it can remember your preferences. We will not spam you, we promise. But try it out. You'll find that all the news, calendar events, there's research, there's articles, there's all sorts of cool stuff. But anyways, the scanners are what we're migrating to. We just need the miracle worker Carlos to get back to help change our setup here. But once we do that, we will be moving right over to it because the data is live right there for you. So check it out. But anyways, back to Becky on our gappers list. And of course, I was late setting this up. I didn't link. Here's this thing I have to do. 1 second. Let me just link this to my... There we go. All right. Oh, well, now that I've linked it, I don't like the look of it. I spent all this time talking about it. It looks ugly.
Trash.
Yeah, I don't know if there's news at this point, frankly. I don't care. I don't like it. It doesn't look great. Let's move on to ABOS. Also looks crappy. What's going on here? Trash. All right, and then we have two of the same. So these are just two different offerings of the same stock, CUK and, oops, and CCL just disappeared for me. And it keeps coming and going. Also looks bad. What about CCL? It ran away.
CCL is usually the better, but I'm not. It's not that great.
It doesn't look that great either. 1.1 million shares, though, so finally we got something with a little bit of volume. It's right around this 2% mark, which is why it's popping up and dropping off my list here. Because we generally filter over things with... No, I can't talk today. My God. 4 things over 2%. So maybe I'll put this down on a secondary list. At least it's got a little bit of volume. I don't know if there's any news in the cruise line industry for pushing Carnival Cruise Lines higher.
I'm not seeing anything exceptionally interesting.
Okay, well, then to the secondary it goes. Okay, that's it for the gap up list at this point.
CCL had earnings. Okay, well, it's
earnings.
Still not that interesting.
Really? Okay, people are saying earnings. Well, apparently, I don't know. Why am I'm not getting any data population for CCL either. That's weird. There it is. Okay. Yeah, well, I don't know. Okay.
Have the earnings come out yet? I'm not showing they're released yet. Okay, so it's not earnings.
It's anticipatory earnings, I guess.
It's not. Don't tell me it's earnings if the earnings haven't actually come out.
Damn you all! All right. Nike is on the list here. Now, is this also earnings? I don't know. We got almost
Nike is definitely earnings.
All right.
They reported last night. Excuse me. They actually beat top and bottom lines, but they showed inventory growth, some exponential number, like some huge number, 44%, I think, growth on inventories. Indicating slowdowns and that they're going to have to do quite a bit of discounting to get it off their balance sheet. So they're getting destroyed this morning.
You were saying huge growth. I'm like, why are they down? And then you said in inventories. I'm like, aha, that's the wrong growth.
Yeah, it's the wrong. That's what you don't want.
All right. So discounted shoes coming your way sometime soon. Excellent. I'll look forward to it. All right. AMLX. I do not know this ticker. Amlx.
So this is a biotech that has FDA approval on an ALS drug, aka Lou Gehrig's disease. Horrible affliction. This is the first ALS drug that's hit the market in 5 years or anything related to that. Now, what's crazy here is this thing was up big earlier, and then it went red and it's popped back up a bit. So it's a little bit wild. It's not what we deem technically low float at around, 30 million, but it's on the lower side of things. So it could move wildly. Keep an eye on it. It's spready as well. Around 70 cents More than that now. The level 1 is over $1 on a $29 stock is a huge spread. So be very, very, very careful.
Yeah, as Norm says, guys, the spread is bouncing here. I saw it from 70 to $1.30, so it's definitely jumping around, which means also the volume's a little low. We've only got 377,000 traded so far pre-market, so we'll have to see if this comes into play. Definitely, not the thing that I prefer to play, so I'll put it down here in the secondary, maybe to help our members set some levels on it, but otherwise, down it goes. Carvana. I can't believe this is still on the list. I have not traded at all this week, although it seems to have popped up every day. People are mentioning it. I just never found a trade I loved.
Did Ed trade this yesterday?
I don't know.
This actually makes me very happy to see Carvana. I mentioned this earlier, but at the June bottoms, I bought Carvana at $21. It then proceeded to go up to over 50. The problem was it went to 26 and came back to my break even, and I thought the market was coming back up to pieces before it went to 50. It didn't even come all the way to my break even. It came within 50 cents. I got rid of it for a very, very, very small profit. And then within about 2 weeks, it was a 150% increase, and now it's back at 21. So I'm not too. It warms my soul a little bit to see that.
Do you want it to go up, or are you looking to sort of?
Well, I don't have a position in it now, so it makes me feel better that I don't have any.
I see. Okay.
That I chickened out of my position, which I very rarely do.
Well, it's been on our gappers list, I said, pretty consistently. So, maybe the volume is ramping up. If I look here, yesterday's volume was pretty high. I don't know. I don't love it as a trader.
Trades really. It's a good swing trade stock. Intraday, I find issues with it. I think Ed trades it. I don't know if he traded it yesterday.
Yeah. Well, I'll throw it down here on the secondary since I don't have a lot on my list so far, and we'll see what happens. I noticed two offerings that just jumped up here on my list in XPEV and LI, both Chinese electric vehicle companies. I'll start with XPEV. I'm not sure if there's actual news on this. Both gapping down. XPEV 3.8%, LI 2.4 at the moment. Both can trade well if the if the people are in it, if the volume is there. Looks like XPEV is trading better right now. Anything dragging down the Chinese EV market this morning?
Somebody will have to update me if there is.
Yeah. Okay. Well, you know what? Often these things jump up here without specific news. It could be general news about the Chinese economy. Sometimes we see because I don't know. I find the Chinese offerings often start to act earlier in the morning. So, it could just be that they're starting, move early and we don't necessarily know why. You just get some momentum into them. So I don't think these are dual traded. As far as I know, like I think all of these, like Neo and XPEV and Lee, I think they're only traded on the U.S. markets, but I'm not sure about that. If anybody knows, let me know, but knows for sure. But anyways, they're here. I'm going to put XPEV on my list because sometimes it is often very well worth watching. And let's take a look at the room and see if you've got any recommendations as well as YouTube. I noticed people just saying XPEV was on short sale restriction, and it is. You can still short it. So
means nothing really.
Yeah, see the symbol up here? Sometimes this is one of the more complicated symbols. So SSR.S. So yes, it's on short sale restriction, which is the SSR stands for. The .S means it's still shortable though. So, and you can see, here on the DAS Trader platform, I've got 4.7 million shares available for short. When it's an SSR.S, the short sale restriction I find not that relevant. I can usually short it as freely as I want to, and there's lots of inventory.
The only difference really I find is that sometimes it pauses going down on its way down.
Right.
It'll get hung up until it gets a higher bid, and then it enables it to drop. That's about it.
Fair enough. And XPEV usually has enough volume that happens quickly enough. You can often not even notice it. What comes
much
with it
like
sometimes,
running hurdles instead of a straight out sprint.
There you go. That's a good way to look at it. The margin rate will often change when it's restricted or things like that happen. Here you can see the margin rate is pretty low at 25%. So not sure why that is specifically, but there you go. But again, if you're well capitalized, it's not a problem. It's only if you want to take big shares with low, a low account value that you may have to worry about that. All right. So that's what we've got.
Normal. That's one for four, right?
Yeah.
Four for one margin. So that's the normal amount.
Well, if you look at the bigger offerings, like yeah, you're right. I guess it is the.
It's the other. If it was 100%, that would mean you couldn't be on margin essentially, or 50%. It would only be 2 to 1.
Okay, thank you. I see. I get that. I get that backwards.
Yeah, it's confusing. It's confusing.
Yeah. So okay, thank you. You're right then. So yeah, no problem. You're all good. Oh my god. All right. So I see people mentioning MU. Let's take a look at MU. The semiconductor stocks yesterday got pummeled. My good buddy AMD was way down. Look at this, trading at $63 now. It's obviously way down from where it was. MU held its level yesterday. If I look at the daily, so far this morning actually, some good volume. Just moved red here on 1.2 million shares. Yeah, it actually looks.
Yeah, they had earnings last night.
Okay. Explains it.
They had earnings last night, and they had some mixed news. Their guidance was pretty awful, but they're also talking about some subsidies out of Japan and some other things going on. So we'll see. That's one of those. It's kind of mixed messaging, a lot like Apple that had the upgrade downgrade yesterday.
Right.
It had an upgrade and a downgrade. So you're like, okay, what's the net effect going to be on the market, in the market the next day? MU is one of those. I think you got to take a little bit of a wait and see approach with it, see how it pans out, and then it'll likely have a decent move at some point, but probably chop prior.
Indeed. All right. What else are people mentioning? AMD, well, one of my favorites, but it may just move in sympathy with MU. It had a big move yesterday, and I noticed that NVIDIA was sort of following it along the path yesterday. Not as big of a drop, but being a higher price stock, NVIDIA tends to move a little bit more, but I was watching AMD all day, and it was just looking sad. So anyways, MU might be the thing to watch in this sector this morning. And last one I see people mentioning so far, oh my goodness, my voice cracked, puberty hits. Meta.
You're a late bloomer, Peter.
I'm a very late bloomer. Anyways, all right. Meta, yeah, I mean, Meta has actually been moving okay. Like Meta and Amazon, I tend to put in the same sort of mental bucket where, sometimes they can get good opportunities, but not every day. I don't know if it's going to move today. Jared likes it, which means that we should pay attention. Yeah, if you like it, keep an eye on it. So far, pre-market, I don't see anything special to pay attention to. All right, and yeah, well, thank you, Sock007. Yes, please hit the like button. We greatly appreciate that. Helps the channel. Love to see it. But I've got a couple of things that we're going to be able to set levels on a little bit later. So
to clarify, yeah. Jared mentioned it only because of the margin rates, and you can see that is cash only, meaning if you look at it, if you click the S on there, it'll have 100%, like we were talking about. That's strange. I'm a little. That's a little strange that they won't let you use any margin on it.
Huh.
I don't know why that is. It's been like that for weeks. Very odd. So, all right.
Meta's suddenly a high risk stock. Okay.
Yes. I mean, it has declined 60, 70%. So,
wow. That is actually interesting. Okay, so there you go. There's a good indication. So, the margin rate then, now that I've got it straight in my head again, and I'm sure forget by Monday, but means that yes, you have to use 100% of your in-account capital, basically meaning it is not marginable. So it just can reduce the number of shares you take if you're trying to trade Meta versus what is Meta, 130, versus if you trade Apple like we looked at earlier, which
Would be
is
normal, the 4-for-1.
which is at 25, which means it's a 4-to-1. So essentially, with the same account value, you could theoretically get 4 times as many shares of Apple as you could Meta.
Not that you should.
Not that you should.
Let's clarify.
Right? Good point. Yes, we're not advocating you max out your capital buying
Don't
power
ask us for the
in every
100%
trade.
buying power hotkey.
Yeah, exactly. You got to be careful. I give people tell them to do something and
Immediately be liquidated by a 1 penny drop.
All right. Anyway, so with that fun, let's take a look at activities in the room. It is a Friday, so all of our scheduled activities for the week have completed. You let me know how you want to zip through this, Norm.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, we'll talk about next week. It's a great time, guys, over the weekend to join on the trial membership if you have not. Part of the reason for that is, and we'll talk about it more in a second, onboarding and technology every Monday night, 8 p.m. Eastern. Hopefully Carlos is back next week. Thank you, Mike, for covering the last 2 weeks. Did a great job. I'm sure you'd like to get rid of that duty off your plate. You have many more. So 8 p.m. onboarding technology with Carlos. Then Tuesdays, we've got strategy. Next week, it is my man Peter over there talking about advanced risk management, which goes against that. He'll get to dive into that 100% buying power hotkey we just discussed, maybe in that. And then the following week, Thor will be doing volume price analysis. The win. This one was had been postponed, so that'll be back up on the 11th.
I'm going to have to update my material now to keep myself out of trouble.
The next Wednesday, 8 p.m., you've got Dr. Kenneth Reed talking about bear market psychology. Don't get fooled again. And the following week, we'll have Kreda back for discovering your inner emotions through self-reflection. Just note that special time of 5 p.m. since she is in Europe. Thursdays is for mentorship. We've got 11 a.m. with John, 4 p.m. with Ed, 8 p.m. with Thor. He should be back by next week, I would imagine. See, he's in here now. Yes, he's in here now. Thor, glad to see you back. Glad that you made it through. Hopefully not too bad. All right. Don't forget about stocktradingsimulator.com and tradingterminal.com. Matter of fact, we need to change this just to tradingterminal.com, where we already walked through and discussed some of the things there. The replay simulator is included in tradingterminal.com, so be sure to go check that out. It's all free to use. Like Peter mentioned, you do have to sign up for it just so it'll save your preferences and such, but then if you're looking to be in the room, there is Trading Terminal. Look at that. Test drive. The intro membership is 7 calendar days, 5 trading days in the room. It does not recur. It's a one-time payment. But the best reason to do that over the weekend, that way you can kind of get a feel for things. And then Monday, you can come in the room, kind of get a feel for the room. Monday night, you've got onboarding. You get to know more about it. And then 4 full days to get a really good feel to see if it's a good fit for you. If it is, you can always get an elite annual membership and use a promo code READ50 to get half off with free one-on-one coaching session with Dr. Kenneth Reed.
Fantastic. Okay, everyone, let's go and set some levels. I feel like I'm.
Thor, did you have to pull any alligators out of your kitchen that floated in or anything? Glad to see everybody's okay. Susan.
Yeah, we
I haven't checked. I know Ed's getting hammered now, isn't he? Is he running his room this morning? I haven't even looked over there. Hopefully he's all right. But
yeah, I know he said
Thor's
yesterday
okay.
he was doing he's on at noon in the main room, and he was saying, "Yeah, gotta go. I gotta tie everything down." So I'm like, Jesus, man, go tie things down. But
yeah, tie it down. Well, you know what a lot of people do in Florida, if they have pools, when hurricanes come through, they put all their pool furniture in the pool. Like, so it sinks to the bottom, it doesn't float away.
I never thought about that, but
Or
I guess
fly
that makes
away.
sense.
Yeah, see, that's what Thor did.
No, there you go. Thor, you keep saying about the flying alligators. I keep thinking like we got the next edition of Sharknado, right? That surely we can do something with that.
Gator cane.
Gator King. Oh, perfect.
There you
Perfect.
go.
All
Of course,
right.
that
See?
sounds like some cocaine that's going to make you go. That's the next street drug that's going to, snort it and then you start attacking people and biting them. Maybe, I don't know if Gator cane is going to work.
I'm gonna cut me a couple of lines of Gator Cane here. Hold on a sec. Anyway, all right, enough of that. Okay, let's set some levels before that stuff kicks in.
It's Friday, guys. Every once in a while, we cut loose and go off the rails on Friday, so sorry.
Indeed.
The Russian crocodile. Yeah, God, that stuff's nasty. All right. Have at it, Peter.
All right, thanks. We'll start with Nike. As we mentioned, their earnings on it, and they had some increased inventories, which set some bad news. I will set that settlement, in case you're new over the last 2 days, at 8 a.m. in the morning. Notice we get big volume and a candle that has a small body, big wicks. Happens on many, many stocks right at 8 o'clock. I call it the settlement candle, or we like to call it the tinfoil candle because it's our crazy tinfoil theory. I can't tell you exactly why, other than I know that there's generally, it's sort of a settlement of overnight accounts. But what it does is sometimes create a range that stocks pay attention to. Notice on Nike at the high and low, this is the low, it set almost like a ceiling, right, that it was bouncing off of before it dropped and set a new low. So we might come back to that level at 84.60 and pay attention to it. So I'm going to mark it on my charts just in case. But on a daily chart, let's see what levels we got, because we are way below where Nike has traded for a while here. So I got to go, back in time. And let's see if I can zoom in here to see what's going on. So we're back into 2020. So this is pre-pandemic levels here, or immediately post-pandemic levels, where we saw some support at this level. A lot of gaps going on in here, so I'll watch this level for support, maybe 81, whoops, the chart's moving on me, 81.20. It's not completely consistent here, so it's not a perfect level, but you got to assume any level is a range, right? And 81.20, I will definitely watch. If it gets there, I'll look to see if it's supported. If not, I will expect a relatively large drop down here to about $78, maybe $78.50, where it might sort of free fall, because there's not a lot of trading between those areas, which means there might not be a lot of support. So that's good enough for Nike to see what it's going to do. If it pops up, we obviously have this gap that it's now created and yesterday's low to watch for. So we'll see what happens on Nike. I don't like trading Nike. I've tried it a few times, and it often it shakes me off. I just find it trades strange. New York Stock Exchange traded stock, maybe that's why. It messes with me every single time I try. All right, XPEV, I'll take away my lines. I'll mark the settlement candle. Notice it's here yet again on this one. You'll see this quite frequently. We are poking out the bottom of the lows here, so whatever the news is, I don't know. I think we already determined on XPEV we were at all-time lows last time it was down here, and we're now even lower. So yes, indeed, it was all-time lows 2 days ago when we were last here at the pre-market show. Yesterday it dropped. Today it's still going lower. So no levels to set on the downside. We'll wait and see what happens, but could be interesting. When it hits those, look how it sort of hits into free fall. There's nothing to support it, right? So people could just be getting off the boat. MU, on the other hand, we said earnings coming out soon. Everyone is saying 9:15, so this thing could get a leap in about 10 minutes. Will it leap up or will it leap down? I don't know. Is it going to jump off the cliff or climb up? I have no idea. But watch yesterday's close up above. You notice yesterday's close 50.01. Pretty strong level there, right? So watch that carefully. If we do get a bounce up, we may just get a pullback to that before it drops if the news is negative and then the opening bell rings, or we may just drop straight from here. Obviously, the low of the 30th of September is a place to watch, which is down here at 49.25. We're pretty much right on that now, so not far to go to get there. Oops. What am I looking at? That was the 1 minute chart. Never mind. That's today. I'm losing my mind. My God. Okay. Low of 48.45. 45. That's the one I want to watch. That's where it spiked to here on the 23rd of September. Oh my goodness. Which is a week ago today. It's the last day of September. Apparently my September brain has already shut down. But anyways, I'll watch that, and then if we get below that, I'm going to have to go revisit, because you got to go all the way back here, right? Once again, same area we were looking at for Nike. You know, if it gets down here, notice that level. I already got a level set down here that I must have set a year ago or two. At 46.54, it cuts across this low, and maybe that'll provide support. So we'll see if this thing really starts to go lower. I will probably still be watching AMD, because if it drops significantly, you know, generally that being the first one out with earnings, it may pull the rest of the industry with it. So I'll keep a close eye on it and see what happens. Anyways, back to our active list here. Now I have to go to my secondary, which is on Carvana. It is down here at down another 3%, relatively low volume, still only 126,000 shares. Look at the pre-market, doesn't look great. I am frankly not loving this. I mean, we've got some recent lows, though, to keep an eye on here. Back in June, we had a low of 1980. Back in July, we had a low of 1945, so it looks like it went a little lower there. I'm going to put a level there. In fact, I'm going to put it at 1950, just so, you know, it's a sort of $half level, which I can keep an eye on. If we get there, then it might provide some support. Or it might just smash right through and keep going lower. And if it does that, I don't even know. Are we at all-time lows? Or let's see. Whoops. Yeah, it looks like we are in all-time low territory. If we break that low, so that is more significant. If we break that, we could head into free fall, because there's nothing to support it below there. So we'll see what happens. CCL was on the list earlier. It dropped off because it's only up. It's up 1.7%. Trading looks a little algorithmic here this morning, so not a lot of active traders in it. That could pick up later. It's not looking great. I don't really want to set any new levels on it, really. You know, let me check the settlement period here. I mean, we got a settlement candle that I could mark here, high and low. Other than that, you can see I've got some levels already marked, 1054, 1102. I'll just keep those. The high and lows of the previous 2 days bracket the current price range, so we'll just see what happens on it. Last on my list was AMLX. People were saying that MU had earnings last night. I'm getting confused now, because I thought people were saying it came out earlier. So what were the earnings? Somebody tell me the numbers then, if they had earnings. Anyways. Whatever it is, we'll see what happens. AMLX, look at this range it had been trading in. So it shot out of this range this morning on the news that Norm was telling us about earlier, dropped right back down into this range. So this to me sets a range, right? This candle spike. And you notice I got the pre-market high marked exactly at $34, which is where it spiked up to. That could be an area to watch. Now, from a daily perspective, high of 31 here, 31.16. So I'm going to put a marker at 31.10. Obviously, whole dollar numbers are something that I watch regularly, so we're pretty much right at $30 right now. Let's see if we get to 31, and then if 31.10 is anything, right? Does it provide any resistance to the upside? If not, we may just continue to drop. But if you like it, you go for it. It's like we said, it's not a super low float. It's a 30, was it 30? Yeah, 30 million share float. But, you know, again, it's not my favorite type of stock to trade. I might put it on a secondary list and see what happens. Going back to some good old favorites, I've already talked about AMD a couple of times. We'll keep an eye on that. Apple has been moving the last few days. It was hanging around that 150 level for a few days. Yesterday, it opened lower than that, gapped lower, and just kept going down. So we're well below 150. Now we've got to find some new levels on it. I don't know. I mean, Apple, look at this. I mean, the June lows are quite a bit below where it is. So there's still room for it to drop down. I'm going to set a couple of levels in here at 134 basically, and then roughly at where the low of these candles are here, 129.76. Let me just see here. Yeah, that's probably good. 129, maybe 80, I would put that at. Just, I want to get advance notice, right, when it's hitting to the levels. I want to see that come on to my screen. So we'll see what happens. But to me, Apple looks like it's poised to move lower if we don't see buying support. That's a big if, though, because Apple loves to get its buying support. It's sort of like Tesla, the next one I was going to talk about on my list, which, you got to be careful if you assume it's going to have a massively down day, because the buyers can come in at any moment and surprise you. Yesterday, that was not what happened on either Tesla or Apple. So today, right, who knows what to expect. With the markets barely down, we're down 0.8%, 0.08%. So, the markets are pretty much at break even right now. Who knows where we're going to go. Tesla, it's still in a range, but the very bottom end of this range that it's been trading in. Beginning of September, it set the lows here. We're just pushing off those lows. You can see I already got a level set there, so you definitely want to be watching the low here, which looks like the lowest I've got is 66.15. So I don't know if I have a level there, but I'm going to put one, 66.15. If it breaks below that, well then look, we've got room to, drop to sort of where this gap is, which would be, wow, like another $10, right? 255 it looks like ish. So keep an eye on Tesla if you like trading it for today. Oxy is another one that's a regular trader. This morning doesn't look great. It doesn't look like we have any particular energy news this morning. But notice while the market was going down, look at the daily chart on Oxy, right? Been up the last 2 days. So, there is a counter sort of market move here that you can play in Oxy. If you like it, watch it. Again, nothing special today. Your highs and lows of the previous 2 days give you some bracketing of the current price. And then, we've got sort of this consolidation range. I would sort of watch around here at 166-ish. For a breakout area. If it gets up there, you should see some resistance. If it gets through, we could move higher again. Don't think that's going to happen on Oxy today, but you never know. All right. Whew, I need some water. Okay, people are saying Tesla's production and delivery on Sunday. Thank you for that. William Turi, I've got 2 or 3 minutes. Happy to do that. You're asking about my mountain pass strategy. Let me go back to yesterday because people were watching stocks yesterday. The secret for the mountain pass on certain days is watching the volume and making sure that you sort of the different time frames as to when to trade it. The theory of a mountain pass is essentially it's a trend reversal trade that requires a second bounce confirmation. Again, picture a mountain pass if you're going short on the high side. Picture like an ocean valley, right? The inverse mountain pass. Apple yesterday was going down all day like we were talking about, right? Look at this 1 minute chart as it's going down and down and down. And how do you keep out of trouble? Well, I'm looking for that second bounce confirmation where it retests a low but doesn't break it. This happened essentially in the afternoon. Look between 2 and 3 o'clock here. You've got this mountain pass formation. However, on a 1 minute chart, it did a couple of things I don't like, right? This red line is a 50 moving average. It cut through it, and look, it put like a secondary pattern up here at the 1 minute chart. But if I just flip very quickly, oh my goodness, to something that makes my chart look ugly. Hold on a sec. Lost myself here. Hold on. Coming back. Look at it on a 5 minute chart. A 5 minute chart, this mountain pass pattern looks much clearer. And sometimes it's about identifying the right time frame to play it, which is why I watch multiple time frames. Right? Clear move down all day, right? You can certainly see it here. No secondary bounce, or if it did, it failed. Here is the first time we got this bounce where it didn't quite retest the low, but got very close. Your entry would have been right around 3 o'clock on this candle as it started to move up with a stop below the low of the day. Right, so here's the pattern I look for. The reason is because it retested the lows and couldn't break it. You go long with the stop below low of days. You can see it never retested, and you could have ridden this all the way up almost to VWAP, certainly to where it closed on the day, sort of between then and the end of the market. So that's the summary of the Mountain Pass. You got to be careful with it, especially in these directionally trending markets, that you get stuck trying to take it over and over again. You got to make sure all your signals are there. If you want to see more, I've got webinars on it and details in our trade room for all of our members. So feel free to check that out. All right. With that, I'm pretty much at time. The last thing I need to do before we sign off here today is check our moderators and see if they've started to post their. Oops, I've got to get this. You think I should prep this in advance? See if they started to post their picks for the day and what they're watching, because sometimes they watch things that I am not. All right, so here we go with our moderators list, and you can see, let me just zoom this out. Thor, I think, was the first one in. Yep. First one in was Thor watching the SPY, the Qs, so the market indices overall. Notice he's been doing that all week, which is pretty smart, keeping an eye on the markets and where they're going, as they tend to pull other things with them. MU, so Micron, we were talking about earlier, Apple, Nike, and Tesla. So all stuff we had talked about, pretty much. Megan, as
now
always.
CCL's going, by the way.
Now CCL, okay, well, there you go. Maybe it was a good thing to keep CCL on the list. It's moving now. Megan keeps her list tight with NVIDIA, Tesla, and LI is what she's looking at. So she didn't go for XPEV. She likes LI better. She's big on setting levels and does a fantastic job of identifying those and working with them.
Plant-based Chinese EV.
You just throw your vegetable waste in the gas tank and it'll burn it up. So,
isn't that what happened in Back to the Future too?
Exactly. They had what did they call it? The Mr. Fusion. They had a Mr. Fusion on there.
That's right.
Anyways, all right. So we can't let the week go without at least one dig at Megan publicly, eh, Norm? All right.
And she knows that.
Exactly, Megan. I used to tell my kids, we tease because we love. It was my excuse for, being a bad parent, I guess. But anyways, all right, so that's all I've got. I'm going to be watching MU. I think I'm going to keep an eye on. I still like XPEV. Let's take a look back here at CCL. Norm said it's moving. Oh, it's moving and moving down. Yeah, that might be interesting to keep an eye on.
Finally came out.
All right. Okay, there you go. I will keep an eye on MU. XPEV still looks good for me. I didn't have LI on the list. Let's check it out just because Megan says so. Yeah, I like XPEV better. So for my list, Apple, AMD, and MU on my primary list. Secondary will be XPEV. I'll put Nike there just because I feel like I should watch it, even though it doesn't like me. And we'll see what happens. I watch IPOs. We've had a very weak time with IPOs. In fact, pretty much every IPO that was listed earlier got pulled. I see this morning I've got one IPO and one SPAC, an acquisition vehicle, that are listed here. So I'll put them in the room for our members. LASE and QOMOU are thinking of opening today. We'll see whether they do or not. I will let you know if and when that happens. So
that's pretty common, as you know, Peter. When we have terrible markets, it's not the best time to bring your company public. It's better to sit back and wait till the market improves. Yeah, so CCL had a 65-cent per share cent loss versus loss of 13 cents expected. So like 4 times a big wider loss, and missed revenues by nearly $1 billion. I know they said it's the busiest booking they've ever had, but my God, that's nasty.
Those are abysmal numbers. So there you go. Okay, thank you, Norm. That's good. So CCL moving. You may want to keep an eye on that if you like CCL. Last but not least, Brian did jump in with his list: MU, Nike, NEO, and Tesla. He always updates it last minute, which is smart. He keeps an eye right until about 2 to 3 minutes before the market open, makes a final decision as to what he's going to watch when the bell rings. And I see Andrew joining our chat room and saying good morning to everybody, so it's time to turn it over to him. Thank you, everybody, for allowing me to be here with you over the last 2 weeks. I've greatly appreciated it. Once again, we apologize for yesterday, and a little technical difficulties kept us off the air for the second part of our morning program, but we will be here on in, and one way or the other. And have a great weekend, Norm. And
Thank you, Peter. Thank you for covering for 2
My
solid
pleasure.
weeks. Sincerely appreciate it. You have done it extremely well. And yeah, have a great weekend, buddy.
thanks a lot. You too. Take care, everybody. Trade safe. As our good buddy Carlos would say, make sure you don't do anything you're going to regret over the weekend. Just trade against your strategy, and you can go into the weekend head held high. Take care, everyone. Talk to you later.
Make sure you don't do anything today you'll regret over the weekend. Doing things you regret over the weekend, that's what you're supposed to do. Take care.
Wise words.